Sure. And like, and on that note, it's like when we build up a lot of stress, or like why do we feel stressed and anxious and like the almost like sometimes jittery? So why do we like wake up in the middle of the night and like with monkey brain, right? So what that what that internal response is to stress, it's a cortisol surge. And when you have a cortisol surge, um, your body wakes up. That's like what wakes you up in the morning, right? So, um, so if you don't burn off and get rid of that cortisol, that's gonna stay around in your body. And what that cortisol tells your body to do is it tells your liver to pump out more sugar, more glucose. And if you don't use up that glucose, then it gets stored into fat. So that's why exercise is a really great way to bring down that cortisol level, burn off that excess glucose in your system, and kind of relax everything. So, especially for cancer patients and cancer survivors, one of the main things that I really focus on as part of the foundation of health is is movement, and movement as medicine, because what we don't want are high spikes in sugar, right? We don't want any excess fuel going to things that shouldn't be fed. And glucose itself, sugar itself, is also inflammatory, highly inflammatory. So we want to bring down as much inflammation as possible so that we have less background noise. Like your body has a lot of stuff going on already. So if you're trying to focus on healing, you want to reduce all that background noise so that your body can really hone in on the things that it needs to hone in on. So that's my spiel for why we should reduce stress and how stress impacts us.
Is that why, doctor? Is that like when you exercise, then say you're feeling sluggish and you go and you have exercise for a walk or whatever, after that you feel more invigorated, like more, actually feel like you have more energy? Is that part of the reason why you're burning through that glucose?
Sort of. It's mostly an endorphin effect. So as you exercise, you're also releasing endorphins. So that's what you're feeling, that elevation of mood, feeling that extra energy. That's the endorphins that start to kick in. And that's when your body's like, oh, I kind of like this. I want more of this.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. What about anybody else? What do you guys do for your stress relief?
I have an elliptical trainer, and I do yoga, and I lift weights
Nice.
when I'm not knitting.
Garden too.
I grow my own vegetables, so
That's fabulous.
yeah.
Nice.
I
That is
think because of you, Cheryl, over some of the pandemic, and we did yoga a lot together, but with all your plants and stuff, I really got into plants, which kind of gets me into this meditative state of like really taking care of them and all of that, and putting the flowers around and stuff, which is nice. And then music is huge booster for me.
Yes.
I yoga and I spin and all that, but it's really the music that speaks to me, that artisticness in it, or drawing.
What about
mariachi music?
What is it?
Mexican mariachi music. It's the best
Oh,
to
really?
make you feel better. We listen to a lot of that in our house. My husband, coming from that background, his father had his own group way back in the 40s and 50s. So, we listen to a lot of that, and it's great.
That's amazing. I actually was able to experience a live mariachi band at a friend's 50th wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
Tulsa. And I was
We,
like, oh, this is amazing.
it is, it is. We had that when our daughter got married 25 years ago. We had a 12 group singing and it was awesome. And I love, I'm German, so go figure.
We like what we like.
Yeah.
Um,
What
there
about
is
like
there's a music program on KCRW, which is, I believe, 89.3 in the mornings from 9 till noon, called Morning Becomes Eclectic. And you never know what you're going to hear. They play music over the span of 50 years. They play jazz, they play rap, they play a lot of French music and
Ooh.
Latin music. It's just really kind of a treat because you never know what you're going to hear, and you hear things that are just so amazing, and then you're like, I've got to figure out who that is. But they have all their playlists online when you go on, and so you know exactly where they are and who the artists are. It's
What
just
was
really
the station
fun.
again? What was the station?
KCRW 89.3.
89.3, yeah. The other thing too that we do, my husband and I, around 9:30 or around that time, we don't watch programs on TV. I just turn, like we're talking about music, and then probably closer to 10 or after 10, we put on that soundscape, and it really kind of brings you quiet and calm. And I've been doing that for a few months now, and that's really been helpful.
It's like part of sleep hygiene.
Right. I'm a
Yeah.
terrible sleeper anyway, so I have to really, they say all those UV lights and everything is really bad anyway. So sometimes I just put like a bandana over my eyes and we just enjoy the music, and I put my head in his lap and I'll fall asleep. So that helps too.
Nice.
Hmm.
In the chat, we have I sit Zazan. I'm not sure what that means. And make origami boxes.
Oh.
Ooh.
So zazen is just
Oh yeah.
the
Margie.
word for Buddhism, right? For Zen Buddhism and the way that you sit and meditate. So it's a silent meditation, usually lasting a half hour, and then a walking meditation for 20 minutes, and then another silent meditation for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Oh.
I need that in my life. I don't know when I can do that, but I need that in my life.
I got to say though, if you can't do it that long, 5 minutes helps.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. I'll work up to 5 minutes. Anybody else? Marcia? Elaine? Marcia, you're muted.
You're muted.
So, okay, got it. Watching old sitcoms, reruns at night, The Big Bang Theory, Friends. I can turn Friends on at any time. I have the whole series. But it kind of, I don't know, it just gets you out of your head, my head. I don't know, just breathing. Shay's taught me how to do that deep cleansing breath. And I probably walk around my store all day long doing that because it just helps me. And I do miss my yoga, and I do miss all my ladies and new gentlemen friends that have gone through this process of cancer. I miss that connection with everybody. So I'm here tonight.
Hey, welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
happy. Happy.
See you, Marcia.
Good to see you. I miss you.
Hulu's amazing that you can watch all those old shows. We've been watching The Golden Girls. How about that one, huh?
Yeah, I watched that one too.
That's old school right there.
Oh, and everybody loves Raymond. We even know some of the words to the scripts. We've seen him so many times.
That's funny. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, all of that. It's just, and they're funny. They make you
Right.
laugh.
right.
And right now, laughter is really good for us. I mean, my husband and I, we butt heads every once in a while. We've been butting heads. It's just life.
Yep.
Mhm.
I do too. We're together 24/7. So,
Together,
but
we
we've
were
been together 53 years, but this is a different being together with COVID and everything. So, yeah, we have our moments sometimes, but by the end of the day, we have each other. So that's good.
Yes.
Well, I'll mention that this year I'm kind of letting the holidays go. I'm just kind of bypassing Christmas. So I'm giving memberships and some different things to people, but it's kind of just, not
Right.
doing much.
Yep.
But I am in the firm. I exercise like crazy. I've doubled up my exercise in the past probably 2 months because I found sugar to be so very delicious in COVID isolation that I have to offset that in some way. So an exercise class in the park, the Zoom dance classes, it's just, it just keeps going. It keeps you busy.
Mhm.
Definitely. Like I'm actually going through a 5-day fast right now. So
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm on day 2.
5 days?
On day 2.
What do you drink water though?
It's a fast mimicking diet, so it's soups and waters, and so it's not a water fast per se, but it definitely puts your body into a fasting state. And I did it again. I did it before last year, in the summer, and for the first time, and I was like, oh, I still feel like I had to kind of work my way through that. This year, I kind of have it more dialed in, and I started doing intermittent fasting since last year. So that really helped um, going through this fasting period. I don't feel like I used to feel hungry all the time through that fast, and now I'm like, eh, like I don't really eat for 14 hours anyway. So my first meal is like lunch, and like kind of just spacing out my meals from lunch to dinner. I'm like, oh, pretty good to go.
What kind of soup?
It's different. It's a program that I go through.
Oh, okay.
So it's yeah, so each day is already kind of measured out. But
Can you drink coffee?
yes. 1 cup of black coffee in the morning.
Ooh, no cream?
No cream. Has to be
Okay.
black. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I made a big pot of chicken vegetable soup yesterday, so we've been eating that. I've had it twice already, once yesterday and once today. So I love making soup. You talk about the TV shows, and I believe on Seinfeld, they had the soup Nazi. So that's what I call myself. I'm the soup Nazi. My husband always laughs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, man. It's been a minute. All right. Anybody else? Elaine, do you want to contribute?
She's on mute.
Well, then if you can help me find the Ethernet cord cable that I've put someplace in this house. I don't have that big of a place, and I apparently probably just laid it down somewhere. Can't find it.
Oh,
Gonna drive me crazy.
You'll probably trip over it or something like that.
Oh, sorry. It's interesting that you said that because I feel like I've been going crazy too. Like I'm forgetting things like 5 minutes after I say something. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just say that? Or was I thinking I said that? Like it really is. It, I don't know if I'm so stressed out or I'm just so over what's going on, you know? Like I haven't figured that out. I mean, and I do have a little bit of stress going on right now. But I mean, it's crazy because I forget all the time, this time of year especially.
Too many things to think about all the time.
Well, your baseline is
Fantastic.
just overloaded, so throw in the holidays and you're just tapped.
I wanted to try it because I'm going to start doing maybe some of the Zoom depositions from home. So I wanted to try it tonight and plug in via Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi. But I didn't put, it's not where I would put my things usually. So it's hanging out here somewhere. Just don't know where. I'll find it.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, I also like the reading situation too. So I do read before bed because it helps me kind of bring my, like, kind of not focus on my work and focus on something fun. So no, I don't read like any of my technical papers. That's not fun. But I typically, like, my favorites are either like sci-fi fantasy or, you know, like, I don't know, regional or like other, yeah, other not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, not heavy thinking, just fun, like funny storylines. That's it. I'm not a huge TV watcher, so yeah, so I'm definitely more of a book person.
I've heard like
I
reading at
can't
night.
read anything that's too complicated because then I dream about it. You know, like if it's bad, like I was reading this book called Dear Edward, which is really good. And I started getting a dream, like bad dreams. So I have to read something more light, I think, at nighttime. Because if I do an audio book, it's a sleeping pill for me. I'm out. So I've tried that.
Mm-hmm. What books do you read, Jason?
So I like either like Grisham or else I like to read like about the American West, the Civil War. I read a lot about kind of like pseudo documentaries or biographies about like different like business, and so it's a little bit heavier reading, but it relaxes me. I think, and at nights I think that um I'm either on meetings all day or else using my mind to, you know, with her business, you know, it's just always something on the go. So it's nice to kind of dial things down a little bit. And then to me, overnight, I kind of like start. I think to me, for me, the most efficient and most maximum attention I have is in the mornings. So when you wake up, it helps clear my mind so that I'm ready to go. And I try to do the hardest projects that I have to think about in the mornings, whether it's really analytical, whether it's writing, whether it's formulating a business idea. That's kind of what I use in the mornings because it's usually the clearest time. And then as the day goes on, the stress level just keeps building because more problems come up or whatever, you know, just people kind of come, you know, I get up early. And so that's usually how I position it, to read at night to kind of start the process of winding the mind down and then starting up the morning the next day over. So kind of good. I don't sleep that much, so it helps.
You know, with me, I've gone through now twice with breast cancer surgery and radiation. When the first time, almost 3 years ago, when I was diagnosed, I handled it really well. But it seems like this time my anxiety just comes and I can't control it. You know, I'm trying not to think about it. I'm trying to do the breathing. I'm trying to move around and get myself busy. But, you know, I always prided myself of being strong minded. And sometimes I just have such a hard time shaking this anxiety. And I do have to take, you know, like something to help me control it. And I don't know why I'm going through that right now when that's never happened before.
Don't you think it just might be the sign of our times with COVID and everything else we're going through, that things may just be a little bit more out there, a little bit more exaggerated?
Yes, yes. And I know that, even just hearing bad things on TV, the daily news of everything that's going on, or watching violence and things like that, I just can't do that. I have to get away from it. It just makes me so people dying. And I had a coworker in my office who died of COVID. And, he was my age, 72 years old. And within 2 weeks, he was gone. And it just really left a terrible anxiety, with all of us. So I'm just trying to do the best that I can. And I don't like taking medication. I don't tolerate it really well. So I have a real small dose of, it's called lorazepam. It's an anxiety medication. And I kind of even cut it in half, and say, okay, I'll take half of one now and see if I need another half, I'll take it later. I kind of spread it out, but I'm trying real hard not to get hooked, on having to take a medication. So yeah, I do the breathing and other things to try to occupy myself, but some days it's worse than others, So I'm really fighting that. That's really hard for me right now.
I think your vulnerability and sharing that with us, Cheryl, is like really awesome because, I will also share that I literally, what was it? When was I in Minnesota? I finally went on some medication for anxiety. And I'm a natural yogi, don't want medication. I didn't even want chemo, for gosh sakes. I mean, who does, right? I was literally hell bent that chemo was going to kill me, but it healed me. So I am now, one of the things that kind of, I think, set me off is I'm no longer surrounded by my friends, and I'm usually an active person, and I like to be out and about, and I like to go teach yoga, and I can't do that anymore. It was, it's behind Zoom, and that's hard. And in a pandemic, how can we like figure this out, right? Like, when is it going to be over? Like, can I go see my family? Can I not go see my family? One thing changes from the rest. We had the presidency thing going on, and then we have all the deaths being, and so what I had to do is literally no more TV. I mean, I don't completely turn a blind eye, but I absolutely would not talk about politics. I absolutely do not want to hear about COVID unless I went to go find out what were the things that I needed to know about it, like to stay healthy or something. Because the media and having that marketing and that advertising kind of background stuff, it's meant to get you stirred up. It's meant to get you into that, because our mindset literally goes to negative. We feed off negative stuff more than we do positive.
Right.
It's interesting because that's when you see movies of shoot me up, bang, boom, 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 all this stuff. People want to go. They want to see it. They want, you can post something on Facebook and, and maybe it's like, when pets pass away, it's the hardest thing. But, people will post about, like, they'll tell you they're sorry about it. And they really are sorry, but it becomes, it's like not the drama in it, but it's the drama in wrapping this up of this negativity, and the mind just easily goes to that. And so I did get wrapped up into that, and it's not something I like to share, because like sometimes I'm like, and last week I went into this tailspin after I went to the doctor, right? And the doctor's like, well, you haven't lost the weight yet. And I was like, I know, and I'm trying. I'm like, eat vegetarian, and I spin, and I do this. And the doctor said something, and I heard it differently. So I heard, and I'll tell you what I heard, but this is not what the doctor said. doctor said you need to lose 35 pounds because you want to prevent reoccurrence. And I heard, you didn't lose 35 pounds, I'm going to have reoccurrence, right? And so it was completely opposite of what was said. And it took me and my therapist and probably a couple little pills to like literally settle me down and really think that through, because of everything else that's going on too. Like you feel so trapped, at least I do. And so sharing that, I wrote like a little bit on that, and I had to share it because if we don't share and we're not authentic about how we're feeling, that depression and that anxiety only gets worse. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yes.
Yes.
And it's hard to share. I mean, what you just said, what I just said, you know, there's a little bit of sometimes people feel shameful. At least I used to feel shameful that I felt this way, but I can't feel that way anymore. Guess what? Because when I did share, there's so many other people that feel the same way, but it took a lot of courage for me to share that. And I'm saying that it took courage because it's not something that I like to share. It's not something how I like to feel, because I feel like I should be this strong rock, you know, that really does, but even strong rocks can be broken. I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
I have a little bit on that. A little bit that might help.
Now or later?
When I'm doing my, do you have more presentation, Doctor? No?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay.
Unless somebody else wanted to comment or anything.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to comment? Talk about
Yes,
stress?
I do. I found my Ethernet cable.
Oh my gosh. We're all so
Mystery solved.
Yay.
It was in the drawer where it was supposed to be, but underneath the iPad. So
You said I'm going to find it, and you did.
That's right.
I'm very positive.
Okay. It's obvious that stress is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not the greatest thing for your mind-body connection. It messes it all up, and it starts creating inflammation. And inflammation, as we know, can lead to all types of diseases. There's an implication of stress and inflammation with cancer. The other day, Dr. Fung and I were talking about when we're seeing our patients, and I used to be the one who would deliver usually the first contact after hearing that they had breast cancer. I can't tell you how many times people came in the office, the women would come in the office and they'd say, I have this because I just got my husband over prostate cancer, or I just buried my mother after being a caregiver for 6 years. I just, you know, so these huge life events of stress, and then they are diagnosed with cancer. So there's a real relationship in our minds between stress and bad health events. So if we can try to change our views of stress, and if we can get a few tools that can maybe help us work through stress and deal with it, then that's going to influence our health. And we all want to have good health and enjoy our lives for as long as we can. So one thing that was interesting is, and Sonia and I were talking about this the other night, it's like, do you remember the days like I think it was like the late 70s, where even when you interview for jobs and stuff, people would give you at some point in time a stress essay where it's like you're supposed to list your life events of stress in the past like month. I moved, I'm getting a new job, my dog died, I'm in debt, that, and then they would put like a numerator against them. So then you'd like score your stress. And this was actually created in 1967. It's called the Holmes Stress Scores. And the reason that they started doing that, because it seems like an odd thing to do, but the reason they did is they started evaluating scores with future health events. So it was one of the beginnings of really relaying the mind-body connection, the stress to the body and to your health and your outcomes. So we all know that the evidence shows that stress, inflammation can influence cancer and outcomes. So intervention therapies, both behavioral and psychological, can help reduce the inflammation response, improve health and your outcomes. And so we've talked a lot about stress, but when you're under stress, what are your physical clues that you're feeling stress? So do you manifest something in your body that it's like, ooh, the stress is really out of control? Some people are GI reactors. They immediately get upset stomachs or diarrhea or feel not a low-grade nausea all the time. People get sweaty palms, bad headaches. Insomnia is the classic one of stress. Changes in your appetite, crazy diet cravings, drinking more alcohol. Stress increases pain perceptions. It causes difficulty concentrating. Your body feels tense. So these physical symptoms are the manifestation of the inflammation process that's going on in your body that's created by stress. The interesting thing about this is that I know with me, when I was working in critical care, so I commuted from Orange County to Los Angeles. I was the charge nurse of the liver transplant intensive care. And it was, it was a very large unit. You dealt with all types of people. So it was like, I thrived on stress because I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie. I was an athlete as a kid. So you kind of learn to strive on it. But then when you start, it was like, I realized that my shoulders were up here, that I had a horrible headache, and that, people would say, what's wrong? Are you upset? It's like, so I was having facial grimacing and people thought I was mad. So it's kind of like when you start looking at yourself in the mirror, maybe you look different. When you start saying, gee, this stomach ache has been with me for 3 days and I don't know what it's from, or these different physical manifestations, it might be time to kind of do a stress essay. And something that can help is, stress is something that we don't know a lot what to do with. What do you do with stress? But we also have to identify it. So it's important with stress that you don't have to rate it, but some type of stress list so that you can identify what your stressors are. They can be big, they can be small, they can be, damn, I just broke a fingernail. It's like, but when you start looking and when you get that stress outside of your body on a list, it can help you identify it. So when you've identified it, what do you do with it? But it's part of the realization and the actualization process. You're having a different reaction to breast cancer this time than you did the last time. So can you, something that you might do is at some point in time, create a list and try to figure out what's my stress? What is my different stress this time? And so there are different types of stress. And the other thing is, unchecked stress can lead to so many other problems, health-wise, but it can take away our happiness. It can take away our joy. It can take away a life that feels relaxed and in control. So, and those are qualities that we want to hold on to. When you identify your stress, there are different types of stress. So there's an acute stress, which like, okay, you're driving down the road and it's like, whoop, I have to swerve to, get away from a dog or somebody's about to hit me. It's like, those things are like, wham, you got stress. You feel your heartbeat. You know that you've activated your nervous system. And So it goes away. It's like, whew, thank goodness that didn't happen. You drive down to Trader Joe's, you go in and you kind of forget about it. There's chronic stress. This is the active stuff that's with us every single day. So these are, it's sustained, and this is the stuff that can just beat you up. So you feel it. Sometimes you talk about it, but you don't break it. So I know when I was in my 20s, it was just kind of like, it was vogue to just do nothing but talk about negative things and talk about your stress and never do anything to try to break it. You know, and we know people like that. Sometimes stand-up comedians, their entire spiel is negative, 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 and it can drive you crazy. And we all might have friends like that, or I know that I've gone through it in my own life, and it just feeds everybody, it brings everybody down. And then there are distant stressors, and these are like the PTSD responses to events of the past, the childhood events, the wartime events, the medical issues, things that might have happened a long time ago, but we carry a manifestation of stress with us. So stress can rule you, or you can try to figure out some ways to control it. And the self-care involved with stress really needs to be intentional. So it needs to be something that we manifest in our thoughts about, this is the stress. This is what I need to identify about it. This is what I need to work with. And, you know, there are lots of times that when stress gets to a point and we can't really figure out what to do with it, we can't figure out how to help ourselves, then by all means, that is a time to have an intervention with a professional. That is the time to talk to your doctor about possibly a medication that can help break this cycle and help you relax. So there are lots of times that stress is beyond our personal control, but we can start working on stepping back and identifying and working on it with some simple things that might bring it down. Sometimes even if you put it in a different place, it feels better and it opens up space in your head for more positive things to come through. And you need to actively take part in controlling stress. So what are some of the ways that you control stress? The $1 million question. A big part is identifying it, prioritizing it, and figure out what's the most pressing and distressing to you. So if you can put the most prioritized and identified stressor in a different place, the rest of the list might get a little bit lighter. So I listened to a number of webinars on stress, mostly through the Holistic Nursing Society. And this one was one that I thought was kind of interesting. It's like, and when I'm envisioning this, I'm kind of like taking the stress and placing it in front of me someplace, and I'm talking to it and I'm analyzing it and I'm trying to figure out what it is. But change the way you feel about the stressor. Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, change the stressor. Change the stressor. Change something about the stressor. A couple of examples are your mother-in-law comes to stay with you at the worst time of year every year, and she stays for 4 weeks. So next year, that's not going to happen. I'm going to ask her to come at a different time, and I'm going to ask her to stay a limited time. My girlfriend's going through a horrible lawsuit brought on by her sibling. And it's been, her physical manifestation of stress is pretty profound. So of course I have all my information with me, and it's like, change the stressor. So rather than making the stressor something she can't control, which is a really nasty sibling, make the stressor what you can do about the lawsuit. Okay. So get her out of your stress profile because you can't control that. There's nothing you can really do about that. But what can I do? I can focus on what I need to do to prepare, what I need to, interact with my attorney about. And I'm just not going to let her come into the picture. Change the way you feel about the stressor. Neutralize your sister. Put her in the corner and neutralize her. Just think about there's got to be something good that happened between the two of you at some point in time. And focus on that and just put her in a corner. If she tries to contact you other than through the legal things, just turn that over to your husband. Don't do it. Don't do it. Neutralize her. And then change your body response to the stressor. So this is where all of our habits, good or bad, come. Good, only good habits. The exercise, the focus on a healthy diet, then maybe you fast for a day. The turning down the day at the end of the day and doing healthy habits, the reading, the soft music, mind visions, focused. Those are really good things that you can try to do. But another thing, it's like the body perception. If I'm really having a bad GI reaction to stress, then I might want to say, what's my diet like? What can I do differently? What can I do to treat this? I'm stressed. I'm having pain. I'm a nervous wreck. Exercise. You get out, you stretch, you walk outside, you focus on the sky. Do something that just causes your body to get into a little bit different position and mode. Yoga. And the other thing is hydrate. During stress, we just forget to take care of a lot of basic needs if we're really, really out there. Focus more on hydration. When you're more relaxed and in a peaceful state, you can make better decisions. Small changes in how we think about ourselves and the world can make a big difference. So some steps to create less stress. We've talked about this in some other presentations with different titles, but creating some type of place in your home, in your yard, whatever's accessible to you any time of day or night, a place that is yours, that's peaceful, that when you walk into it, you feel safe, and you give yourself permission to relax. And it can be something that you have all your special goodies around. It might involve a really nice plant. It might involve a beautiful photograph. It might just be, there might be something that's a brilliant color that just resonates with you and makes you feel good. I always have a piece of rose quartz that, it's kind of like the concept of worry beads. It's just like, it's a wonderful thing to feel the coolness and look at the pretty pink color of it and just focus on that. So it could be related to an altar, but just a place that you can go, that you allow yourself to meditate, that you allow yourself to breathe, that you allow yourself to let your mind go someplace else. And it can involve music, candles, whatever it is. And you can, sometimes the space gets built upon to become much more important to you. And then you can get that kind of conditioned response. It's like, I'm in stress, I'm going to go here. And then when you start walking in, it just the thought of going there can help relax you. Your self-awareness, where are you holding the tension and where are you holding the stress? So if it's your lower shoulders, and one place we hold a lot of tension and stress is in our faces. We furrow our brows, we grind our teeth, we make funny faces, or, you know, but there's a lot of tension because your face has so many muscles and they can hold a lot of stress in. So sometimes if you just try to relax your forehead and your face, and if you can think to smile, it can really help relax a lot more. The other thing that and wherever it hurts, try to move and focus there. You can do a body scan, and you start at the head and just kind of imagine, you know, you close your eyes and just think about relaxing every muscle. Think about something nice and warm, you know, focus on a warmth that guides down your body. And you can go down as far, you can go all the way to the end of your feet. And there are some really cool exercises, and there are actually some guides online and on YouTube about a body scan, progressive relaxation. So it's a wonderful exercise to help your body relax, to relax your mind. And then how about your breathing? So this is a kind of a cool exercise, and it might be, because there are 1,000 ways to breathe. And all of them are good. But if you establish kind of a breathing pattern that works for you, that you might be able to carry into your special space. This one is interesting because I'm a real visual person, and so to have a cool guide really is helpful. So you're going to imagine a box, a beautiful square box, just a perfect box. And the top part is, and it's divided into fours. So the top line, you're going to breathe into the count of 4. So breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4. Down the side, the count of 4. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Across the bottom. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Up the side. Hold. So if you close your mind, if you close your eyes, and then in the middle of your box, put a beautiful color. Put a beautiful color. One that relaxes you, one that makes you happy. And then, or if you have a photo that is of one of your special vacations or your loved one or whatever it is, then you can put that in the middle as well. I just think that starting out with the color is kind of a nice internal set, and it can light up, it just brings a brightness to your mind. So you can go into your space and just map out with your brain your beautiful box of bright or soft colors, whatever it is you need. And then your mind is just, you can watch the line go as you breathe to 4, across the top, down the side, across the bottom, and then up. And while you're dealing with 4s, do 4 breaths doing that. And that can help break some of the stress cycle. And you can do that exercise anywhere. It doesn't have to be in your room. You know, you can just find a corner when you're waiting in a doctor's office, when you're, you can't certainly do this driving, but you can, wherever it is that you're feeling stress. I know, like in the hospital, I used to go to the bathroom. It was the only place that you could go. So you must have some place that you kind of like, that's where I go, whether it's your office or what, but it's just like where I go. But it's just a nice, relaxing exercise, and it pulls your mind. It makes you concentrate. It's something that it's an intention. So you have to set that. You have to participate in it, and which is part of this setting up. I have to be an active partner in my stress reduction. And then guided imagery are powerful tools, very powerful tools. I have some resources towards the end as well. So something that gets us through everything. We talked about this as a means of dealing with resilience. What makes you resilient? People that have positive mindsets are more resilient. People that have negative mindsets need to learn how to bring them into a more positive mindset. So the positive mindsets, we can work on them and we can get them. So something that they've done a lot of research on with control groups that, so if you give exercises to people, I need for you to write down 5 things every night that you're grateful for. Second group gets something like, I need you to write down 5 things that are bad that happened to you. And then another group got, I need you to write down 5 things that you did today, just nothing attached to it. The people that wrote down, that processed and thought and wrote down gratitude were the winners in the contest. They had the best outcomes. They studied them over a while. So they had, better health, they had better outlooks, they dealt with stress better. So the relationship between positive mindsets and gratitude essays or exercises is very, very strong in research. Somebody who brought this forward was, ages ago, was Oprah. So Oprah, so much of her success is she started really trying to retrain people about gratitude. So it's a nice way when you're talking about some of the rituals that you do at night. It's a nice way to focus and leave a positive imprint before you fall asleep. So if you write down 5 things that you're grateful for from that day or from that week, but every night, write down your gratitude. They can be the same, but you're focusing on them. And I'm a big believer that there's a lot more power in the pen to the paper than there is when you're on the keyboard. But thank goodness there are lots of people that are good on the keyboard, particularly when they're the secretaries. And so that will allow you to relax. That lets you enter into sleep with pleasant thoughts. And like Jason was saying, when you have something pleasant that you go to bed with, you wake up more refreshed and you wake up with a little bit more positive attitude. Now, this is something that I think applies to everyone. Quit being so hard on ourselves. We need to be kind to ourselves. We have these visions of ourselves as being these multitasking, professional, perfect beings that we don't allow ourselves to ever say, I'm just not going to do that. So we have some real stressful environments, and we have some real stressful expectations of ourselves. So people who cut themselves some slack have a lot less inflammation, which means they decrease illness. And I found at the beginning of, the COVID isolation, I was still like keeping those time frames that I had when I had real appointments and stuff. It's like I was creating a situation where it's like, if I didn't get the dishes done by this, I was creating these ridiculous routines within the house. And then I finally just one day said, do you know how stupid this is? Do you know that everything is still going to be there like tomorrow and you can do it and you have extra time now? So sometimes you just have to look at yourself and say, wait a minute, what am I doing? What am I doing? I don't have to do this. So it's a good practice that I don't think we do enough.
Hey, Rosemary, have you heard of the book called Zebras Don't Get Ulcers?
Yes, that was quote. I haven't read it, but that was part of the one of the lectures that was cited. There was some view from that. But that's a great visual too. It's like
yeah, and it just speaks to the acute stressors versus the chronic stressors. And I actually did a class in that in my undergrad, and it was funny because zebras or other mammals don't, like, typically if they're just dealing with acute stressors, it's there and it's gone, right? It doesn't linger. And so with humans, a lot of the time the stress lingers because we allow it to linger. The book is called Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And so I think that we got a lot of good tips on, especially I really like that the five gratitude, or writing down your 5 things that you are grateful for before bed. I know in the morning I have like a prayer board where it, like, I just wrote it on my mirror, like all my prayer boards and like patients that I'm praying for and things like that. And so so having like a gratitude board would be awesome too.
That's an interesting concept, because there was I was reading an article about hospitals that are setting up wellness programs for nurses during COVID, because the medical population is getting pretty beat up. And this was actually for an infusion center. And one of the things that they did was throughout their the infusion center, where nurses would have points of contact, like whether it was a sink washing your hands or getting your meds out of the med. God, I can't remember what they're called anymore. But anyway, the big machines that dispense your
med stations.
Yeah. It's been away a long time. Then they would write a reminder of take a deep breath, roll your shoulders 5 times. So they just had little prompts. And after a week, the nurses came back and gave such favorable feedback to that, because you just get so wound up. We get wound up in our stress and kind of ruminate and digest it. And sometimes you just need that gentle reminder of, yeah, I can do this. Also, a reframing. So there's got to be a way to twist anything negative into something that's better. And Shay, you gave a great example of it. I don't want to get chemo, it's poison. And when you turn that around and say, I had a girlfriend who is one of the most holistic people that I've ever known. And she's an energy healer, and she was diagnosed 3 years ago with lymphoma. And so I had a few talks with her about cancer, and she's like, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to, no, not me. And then we worked a little bit more, and she started turning it around. She took I gave her an aromatherapy program. She went in with the anti-nausea bracelets. She would go in with, you know, her special drink. She was very rigid in the ritual that she went into chemotherapy, and then she gave a gratitude blessing to the nurses and to her and to herself before she got her chemo. And so she turned the chemo into her hero that was going to save her. And it was remarkable. It was remarkable. Very good outcomes. She walked every day. She really created a routine of positivity around this experience that reframed it into something that was healing.
Absolutely.
So now this was an
we have like that's exactly what I tell a lot of my patients, because in my line of work, a lot of patients come to me because they want other options.
Right.
And I'm like, well, sometimes there's no other options for you. And they're like, but it's gonna kill me. I was like, well, if you think that way, it's gonna kill you. You know. But if you turn this around, like what I've told my patients to do is when they get their chemo, like bless the bag. Say, like, you know, like, you are going to help me fight this off. This is going to make me better. Do your job, and then let my body do mine. Like, bless the bag. And they do so much better, and they have a much better outcome and outlook on their future treatments, and their treatments go better and their responses go better. It's just a much better positive outlook, and again, turning things around. It just makes the biggest difference in all of, like, majority of these outcomes. Like a lot of I've seen where patients, like, they're going, and then all of a sudden they just go negative, and their outcomes go negative. And hopefully that's not, we try to keep that from happening.
That's like the Norman Cousins book. I can't remember the name of it, but.
Oh, no. I forget. I forget too.
It's an old book.
I want to add on to that.
Yeah.
The Notebook. Yeah, that's it. But I wanted to add something onto that, both of what you guys are saying, because, you know, the holidays can bring so much sadness when you are missing so many people and all of that stuff, which brings on the stress and the anxiety, and reframing is sometimes hard, especially when you get into that little darkness, right? And knowing when we can, like, pull ourselves out, or when we need help, or when we need that medication. But today something really cool happened. I got something in the mail from a really beautiful, beautiful soul. And I just want to read this quote, because, and I'm not going to say who it's from, but it couldn't have came at a better time and pulled me out. I've been pulling myself out, but it really pulled me out. And it just says, in Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaw is seen as a unique piece of object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this when you feel broken. And when I stress out, or when I have that anxiety, I feel broken. I feel like something's wrong with me. But those feelings are real. Those feelings are raw. We're human. We should feel that way, right? These are good feelings. If you didn't feel that way and you had no emotion, then I guess maybe we should be worried. But pulling ourselves out is the big thing. And then in this book, I opened up the page, and it says, you know, many of us are struggling to be better, to recharge, or keep up. We're constantly searching for the secret of self-improvement. But, like, how much do we really sit there and just allow ourselves to feel the feelings that pop up and just address them? You know, like, it's no secret. In order to heal and feel whole, we have to do the work. That's what that says. And it says, when you think you're broken, you can pick up the pieces, put them back together, and learn to embrace the cracks. I just thought that was so special. And I'm so touched by this because it made me tear up when I opened it up literally about an hour before we were starting this thing. So with that stress and that anxiety, like it's true. We have each other to be able to like pull each other up. We are apart, but we're together, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I learned that when I was a potter for about 5 years, and it was a real profound lesson. The other lesson with that was knowing when to stop. Because if you keep on going, you can destroy your work. Because if you push it too hard, you destroy it. And maybe part of that self-improvement is being able to let go a little bit. The expectations for self-improvement are always mounting. And sometimes we might not need to. We might need to come back a little bit. I have some resources. And also laugh, smile. Sometimes smile if you just don't even have anything to smile about, and it makes you feel better.
We should probably wrap up pretty soon too.
Yeah. Okay, here's some resources, if anybody can write them down. And these are recommended in the from the Holistic Nursing Society. And I went online and looked at them. One is called originally calm.com. And it's one of those ones that you can try out a certain amount for free, and then it would go into a paid category, but it's visualizations, imagery, those types of things. So it is just a multitude of different ways that can help us remain calm. Another one at the same principle, I think it was kind of the leader of all of them, was headspace.com. And that's endorsed by a lot of professionals. And if you want to learn more about stress, there's stress.org. It's not a .com, it's a .org. So those are just some ones if you want to look into, because these apps like calm.com are great because there are things that you can, maybe listen to before you go to bed, or maybe in your little space that you declare, a good place to go listen to. A little imagery or something.
There's also Daily Om.
Daily Om.
Yeah. That's a good app as well.
So there are lots of things that are available to us to try to take on the beast.
Yeah. And also one thing that I don't remember if you mentioned is therapy.
Yeah. Seeking the help of a professional. Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I think everyone should do it. So,
I think that everybody
so
has a point in their life where they need to, whether they do or not. But everybody has a point in their life where they need to seek some help.
Absolutely. Let's see. There was a question a while back that I want to quickly address. And this is from Michael from Facebook, wants to know why cannabis helps. Probably this is not the place to discuss cannabis, but as any other medicinal herb, that and any other medication as well. I mean, there are specific uses for specific medications and herbs, and whether that is indicated for you or not, that is for your doctor to determine that. And so, and this goes for any other, herbs as well, like ashwagandha and astragalus and eleutherococcus, like all of these other herbs that are in over-the-counter supplements and things like that. So that's definitely something that you would have to discuss with your doc. And that's all I have to say about it. I think we are going to try to wrap up.
Mhm.
And it's 6:49, and I just want to thank you all for being here with us on our last Talk, Listen, Share of the year. And our new, I know, right?
Great.
We'll have a pre-recorded Talk, Listen, and Share on the 20th.
Right.
Have a little fun message from a few community partners and collaborators and friends. So on the 23rd, it will rerun all day long. We don't forget you, but it just won't be live. So we hope that you guys enjoy your holiday season, your new year. We'll be back in January with some new topics, some partners, some collaborators, some speakers, and we might even push the envelope a little bit in some of the months going forward. I think you never know. You never know. But as always, if there's topics you guys want to hear about or would like to share, this is Talk, Listen, and Share. This is about creating a community, and some of the stuff that we might think is relevant, maybe you're missing. And so let us know. We would love to get your feedback and love to know what you would like to know more of, so we can collaborate more and share more in the community too. So I just thank you guys for all being here. We're all amazing. You guys are amazing, and we're doing the best we can every day.
Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone have
Thank
a
you
great,
so much.
great,
Good
happy
seeing you
holiday.
all. Good seeing you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Bye.
holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Shay.